Just imagine we have group of people, and inside this group every person is having different characteristics, different behavior, different planning and different thoughts. So they all are working in a group, but when it comes to individual person, everything will be different. So when we define them as individual person, they can easily separate their thoughts, separate their ideas, separate their hobbies, plannings. So whatever they are doing, they can easily separate that. So sometimes it is also important to segregate the person based on the work they have done, so that we can give proper credit to the person who has done the work. So in similar way, in JavaScript, we have objects, and inside objects, we are having lots and lots of data. And for every property, we will be having different data, and also data can be of different types. We can have integer data. You can see ID is integer, title is string, famous character is array, and books is an object. And inside object, we are having another object. So in objects, we can have the data with multiple data types, and every property can be having different data, but they all belong to one object. This is our example object in which we will be working, but this is the object in JavaScript in which we have lots and lots of properties, and for every property, we have different data. But sometimes it becomes very important to separate all of them. So we can separate them by their property names. We have title created in ID, created by, okay, whatever properties we have here, we can easily separate them. So in JavaScript, object destructuring is nothing but it will allow us to extract the data from arrays and objects. Arrays we are going to see in next session. So object destructuring will allow us to extract the data and set them into a new variable. So what we have done, from group of people, we have defined them separately, and whatever properties or whatever behavior they are having, separately we will be assigning them. Similar way, whatever data we have, string data, title will be separated and it will be treated as a separate variable, and inside this the value given as string. So in JavaScript, for string we have different properties and different methods. So once we separate them, we can easily apply all those properties and methods. So this is what definition says. Object destructuring allow us to extract data from arrays, objects, and set them into a new distinct variables. So once we separate them, this will be called as separate variables. And you have to remember, object destructuring is a part of modern JavaScript, and it was introduced in ES6. Practically, we are going to understand everything about object destructuring, every minute detail which are important to get started in bigger project. So now let's get started with our practical example to get more understanding on how to do object destructuring, how to assign different values to different properties. I have opened my Visual Studio Code. Inside this, I am having one object, and inside this object, I have just given Tom and Jerry, okay, the cartoon data. Here I have given some numbers, which is the random number. Okay, I have just given by myself. It is not the exact number, so do not consider it as an exact number. And also these ratings are random. This individual data I have taken from Google, and I have just created one simple object. So do not focus on the details. Do not focus on these numbers. The numbers are given by myself. This is our browser. Inside this, I have opened my file, and this is my console where we are going to see our result. So this object I will be pasting in comment section. So if you want to follow along with me, you can copy the object and you can start typing along with me. Just see here, I am having cartoon data. This entire thing is an object. How we can tell this is an object? Because Here we have curly braces. And inside this, it is called as properties. Okay, you can call it as key value pair, or you can call as properties and value. And here, when data is not wrapped inside single or double quotes, it is called as integer. Here it is called as string. This is also called as string. This is called as boolean. We have true or false in boolean. And this square brackets represent, it is an array. Inside this we have object. Inside object we are having another object. So we are having lots and lots of properties inside this object. So one by one we are going to see how to separate them. What are the things we can do in object destructuring? First, I will be showing you before ES6 how we used to extract the properties from object. I will come down. I will write normal way. And inside this, I am going to create one variable created in is equal to, we have to write our object name dot. This is my property. Okay, whatever property name I am having here, exactly same. I am just going to paste it here. I have just created one variable created in. You can give any variable name. Object name dot property name. Now if I just log this one, save this, I will be getting 1940. So whatever value I have given to this property, I can easily extract them. So from object itself, we can easily extract it. So similar way, I will copy, paste it here. Now here, here and here. Let me just change it to created by. So now what happens? I can easily extract the data from object using object name dot property name. Okay, this was the normal way. But using object destructuring, it is very easy now. Object destructuring, what we will be doing? We will write here const, and inside this directly we will be passing this property name. Inside curly braces, created in, then created by is equal to, we are just going to assign to our object. Now let me just comment it out because we have already created these variables. Now using object destructuring, inside curly braces, we can pass this property names, and from where we are taking this property, we have to assign to that object. Now if I just write here log, I will write here created by and created in. Save this. Now again I am going to get the result. Okay, it is very important whenever we are destructuring, whenever we are taking the properties as separate variables, we have to wrap them inside curly braces. Okay, why curly braces? Because this is how we will be creating objects. So as soon as you see curly braces, you can easily tell it is JavaScript object. So whenever you are destructuring objects, you should wrap the properties inside curly braces. Instead of creating separate variables like this and getting the properties from object like this, we can easily destructure and we can give the property names from that object. Then also we are going to get the same data. Okay, this is how we are going to do object destructuring in JavaScript. And now you should remember whatever property name I am having, that should be exactly matching with this destructuring variable. Now if I give here double n, save this, I will get the result as created in is not defined. Let me just also log this one, save this. Now for first created by, I will get the result, but for second one, I will get the result as undefined because this variable is not present inside this object. Now here also if I give double n, now I will be getting the result. So whenever we give this same variable names, only then it will be treated as separate variables, and only that property data will be extracted from object and that will be displayed to us. So now what we have done, we have created two new variables out of this object. Just imagine that group of people, and when we separate them as individual person, we can take any person. Okay, randomly we can take the person. Okay, there will not be having defined order. So in this also, whenever we are extracting variables, we don't have to define them in order. I don't have to give ID title. You can see without giving ID title, I just extracted this created in created by. Then also I got the result. After created by, I can also give the title. Here I will give title. Save this. Okay, I will be getting the result. Okay, there is no defined process that all the data has to be extracted in same order. You can extract in any order, you can create individual variables, and you can display the data. But one thing is important, you have to give the exact same property name which you have defined inside this object. Okay, this is what you have to understand in object destructuring. We are just extracting the data, giving them as a separate variable and just printing them. Now, second thing is why it is used. Okay, if you do this, then also no problem. You are going to get the same result. Okay, for this we have already seen. We got the same result. Then why should we even use object destructuring? Sometimes what happens when you are working in company or when you're working in real world project. So data what I have written here, this is manual data. So whenever we are practicing for ourselves, we can write this kind of manual data. But when you're working in company or when you're working in real project, you cannot write this manual data. So for that projects, data will be coming from API or third party libraries. So for example, if you want to get menu data, if you want to work with menu API, if you want to work with movies API, if you want to work with weather apps, okay, so there are many applications where we are getting data from the API. So most of the time, whatever data we are getting from API, that will be in the form of objects. So that time, object destructuring will save lots and lots of time because we don't have to define separate variables. We don't have to extract like this. We can easily wrap all of them inside these curly braces, and whatever data we want, only that data we can easily get it. Using object destructuring in less line of code, we can get the data which is needed. So that is the reason object destructuring was introduced in ES6. So it is a part of modern JavaScript. Now suppose just imagine this is the data which I got from API, and inside this I do not need this famous characters and books. So I can just ignore them. Okay, I do not have to use in my project. Directly, whatever properties I want, I can extract them and I can display the result. Okay, I will write the comment here. Why object destructuring? To deal with API data. Now inside this object, I am having this array and also I am having another object. Now if I want to get this data, let me just come down. I will write one comment and here I will write famous characters. I will save this. Now I will get this error. Famous character is not defined because this famous character is present inside object. So normal way to extract the data from object, first we should be writing our object name. I will write here cartoon data. Then I have to write here dot. Now if I write here, I will be getting the result. So as I mentioned, when we are dealing with API, writing this will become frustrating as well as irritating. So similar way, I can copy here. I can extract this arrays as well. I can just write here by separating commas. Now directly, instead of writing like this, I can just write here famous characters. Save this. Again, I am going to get the same result. I will not be having any error now because I have already destructured that one and I have stored in separate variable, and now I can easily print that variable. For Boolean data also, I can just write this one and here I will be printing. Save this, then I will get the result as true. By seeing the syntax itself, you can understand destructuring is very important when dealing with API data. I will just write this one, extracting arrays from object. Similar way, we just have to destructure and we are writing this one. Now again, let's come to our group of people, and in group of people, every person will be having a name and some people will be having nickname. So in similar way, this object, as I mentioned, whenever we are destructuring, we have to give the same names. Whatever names we are having, we have to give the exact name. But the data which we are getting from API, we may be having the properties which are not matching our project. So that time we need different variable names. So now how we can do that? Now here we have to give the exact name, and whatever data we get from API, exact properties we have to destructure and we have to assign to our object. But it is possible. Okay, I will show you how. Assigning another names. How do we assign another names to variables which are not matching with our project, or for your project also? If you want to do, you can easily do that. Let me just comment this one. Here also I will be commenting. Below this, I'm just going to write here const. Similar way, we have to open this curly braces and I will be assigning this to my object. So this entire thing is same. Now I will just write here created in property name. This should be exactly matching with this property name, whatever is present in our object. I can write here colon and I can just write here year created. I can give the separate name here, or I can just mention here created year. Okay, that's it. Whatever property we have in object, we have to give it here colon and the name which you have to give for that property. For second one, separated by comma, I will write here title, and inside this I want to give the name as heading. Easily we can do. Now for famous characters, I just want to give the name as characters. Now let us print this one, log. Now if I just write here created in instead of created here, save this. Now I am going to get this error. Now created in will not work because for this one I have changed the name as created year. So now instead of created in, I should be writing created year. Now I will be getting the result. Do not get confused. It is very simple when you start typing along with me. And even if you take notes, then also later on you can refer. But most important thing is you have to practice and you can take real world examples, and according to that you can design your program. Okay, these are group of people in which everybody is having the name, but for some we are having nicknames. So we are just giving these names. Okay, this is real world example. But when I talk about real world projects, data which is coming from API, maybe for movies, they have given movie name, movie ID, movie character, movie director. You do not want that names. So accordingly, you can change the name and you can easily print that one. So now for created in, I have given created here. For title, I gave heading. So I can display heading. And for characters, famous characters, I gave characters. Now easily I can get all the data. Now these are the separate variables for all my properties, and accordingly their values will be displayed to me. But one thing in this also you should remember, this whatever you are giving on left hand side, that should be exactly matching with this property names. And then only we can give colon, and whatever name we want, we can easily give that one. And this is also one more added feature while dealing with API data. Now again, let us take an example of API data. In that, the data which you required is not present in API data. But while you extracting API data and when you are displaying that data, the data should not be displayed as undefined. Now here, if I display something which is not present in this API data, let me just write here num1, save this, num1 is not defined, let me just remove from here, and inside this I will write cartoon data dot num1, save this. Now I will get the result as undefined because this num1 property is not present inside this object. But sometimes what happened, you require some data, but that data is not present inside the API data. But for users, you do not want to display this undefined. So that time what you can do, you can give default values. So now let me show you setting default values. Now inside my object, here I have given number of episodes, here I have given reviews, ratings and everything. Now here I am having number of episode, but I do not know when it was completed. I do not know the date. So here I will just write here log. I will write my object cartoon data dot end episode date. Save this. Again I will get the result as undefined. But whenever user is extracting the data, I want to display them a date. So what I can do, I can easily give default value for this one. Comment it out. Now this property is not present in my real API data, but I want to display this to my user. So I can set the default value. Similar way, how we extracted data from object in curly braces, how we have written individual properties. Similar way, I will be writing this one equal to, inside this I will write 1970 random date. Okay, these are not the real dates. I am just writing random date. And this will I am just going to assign to my cartoon data. Now log, I will just write here end episode. Save this. Now instead of undefined, I will get the date which I have written here. Let me remove this. I will write 09 and 01. Save this. So this is very important. Instead of displaying undefined, it is very important to display some data. So if end episode date is not present, then you can set the default value, and whenever user wants to see the end date, so they can easily see that. They will not be getting the result as undefined. So this is how we will be setting the default value. Now what you want, instead of end episode, you just want to rename it as end date. So that also you can easily do. Let me just comment this one. And below this I will be pasting how we have changed here. Now this is the property. Just imagine property. Again we have to write colon. I will write end year. Now this will be equal to this one. Save this. Now I will get reference error. End episode date is not defined because I have changed the name. I will copy, paste it here. Now I will get the result. One more thing we can do for properties which are already existing in object. For that also we can set the default value. I will write here const, and inside this I will extract famous character, and for this famous character I will give another name. Let me just give the another name as cat, and for this I am just going to set as empty array, and this will be equal to cartoon data. So what I have done, this famous character is already present. I have changed the name to cat. Let me just write here character, and here let me just comment this one. So what I have done, for famous character, I have renamed to character, and I have set the default value as empty array. Now see what happens. Log, I will display character. Save this. Now I got the result. But here if you see, I have set the value as empty array. But still, I am going to get the result what is present in my object. Why this happened? So for this famous character property, we have data present inside the object. Okay, we have data, we have this array, and here we are having 8 elements inside the array. So whenever we are setting default value, if the data is already present inside this property, this default value will not be taken. Whatever data I am having inside the object, only that will be displayed. So now this is also one more advantage. For every property, whichever you are using from the API, you can set the default value so that error or undefined will not be displayed. But if that property data is already present in that API, then that data will be displayed. So you will be in a safer side. Instead of displaying error or undefined, you can easily set the default value. If property is not present, default value will be displayed. Even after setting default value, and if the property and value is present inside the object, then that value will be displayed. Okay, do not get confused. I will write here no property, default value will be displayed. If property and value is present and default value is assigned, then object property value will be displayed. Default will be ignored. Okay, this is very easy and very simple to understand. Just practice. Now, if you do not want to rename, you can just remove this. And here you just have to write famous characters. Save this. Then also you are going to get the data which is present inside the object. Now, suppose if I just remove this entire thing from here, save this. Now I will be getting empty array. I will not be having any error. Instead, empty array will be displayed, which is set as default value. I will do Control Z. I hope you are clear with this. Do not get confused with the concept, because object destructuring is very important topic when you are getting started or when you are learning React. Now here we will see another topic, mutating variables. Okay, while destructuring, if I just want to change the variable value, then how we can do that? Before going with this example, before going with this object, let us understand what is mutating variables in isolation. Now here I will be creating two variables. Let a is equal to 45 and let b is equal to 32. I have created two variables a and b, and for them I have given the values. Now here const obj, inside this I am having same property name a. I will give a is equal to 11 and b is equal to 17. Now what I just want to destructure this one. So let us see const. Now if I write ab is equal to obj, now see what happens. I got the error here. Till now we have seen whenever we want to destructure the object, in curly braces we have to give the same variable names, that is same property names, whatever is present inside the object. Let me increase the size. But now inside this, if you see, we have already created the variables a and b, and for that we have already defined the values. Okay, now we are using const, but you can see it is telling we are just assigning different values to this one. We are getting this error because a and b are already declared, and when you hover on this, you will get cannot redeclare block scoped variable a as well as b. For this, I can write here let. Then also what happens? I am just creating new variables. This a is there, b is there, but still if I write let, then also, okay, we cannot do this one. So let me just remove this. Now also, now you can see, if I remove let or const, I will be getting separate error now. Declaration or statement expected, this equal to follows a block of statement. So whenever JavaScript will be seeing this curly braces, it will expect a code block. I will save this. Now here I will be getting the same error. So just remember how we can mutate the variables. If the variables are already defined, and same variables are used as properties, then we cannot destructure object. And when we do this one, we cannot write let or const. Okay, it is not possible. We will be getting error. But when we wrap them inside curly braces, then JavaScript will be expecting block of statement. Then how we can do this entire thing, including our object, we can just wrap inside parenthesis. Now you can see error has gone. Now we are not having any error. Save this. Now I do not have any error. Now if I just display A and B, now see what result I am going to get. I am going to get 11 and 17, which is present inside this object. So in this way, we can destructure this one and we can easily mutate the values and we can get the values present inside the object. So now let us take real world example. Now inside this one, for this I have created let and I have given title as Tom and Jerry childhood favorite. Okay, this is my title I have given outside, but inside this object I am having another title. Save this. So similar way how we have done here, we will be doing in similar fashion. I will write parenthesis. Inside this I am going to write title is equal to, inside this only we have to write equal to cartoon data, and below this I will write title. Save this. Now you can see I got that title which is present inside my object. Okay, for getting the data present inside the object, we are just doing like this. Now suppose if I do not do this one, now if I save this, I will be getting title outside of the object. What is present outside, that I will be getting. But same data is not present inside my object which I got from the API. I want to use the data present inside the API. So you can easily do this one. Okay, you can easily write this line of code and you can get the data from the object. Okay, I hope you are clear with this mutating variables, why we are using this one and why we are using this parenthesis. So whenever JavaScript sees this curly braces, it is expecting code block. So we are just wrapping entire thing inside parenthesis. This is also very important topic when it comes to object destructuring. Now next topic, let us see. I will write the comment and I will be writing nested objects. How do we handle nested objects? Now here inside my object, before that let me just remove this one. Inside this cartoon data object, I am having books. Inside this book, I am having some data and this book is also an object. Inside this book, English, Hindi and French, and this English is also an object. We are having object inside object and inside object we are having another object. So how we can handle this kind of data? So let me just copy this one and here I will paste. I do not need to scroll. Const cartoon data is equal to, this is also an object, cut it, and here I will be pasting and I will just comment this out. Okay, so that we do not scroll up and down. We have cartoon data, this is an object. Books, this is also an object. English, this is also an object. So now let us see how we can extract. First I will write const. Now for destructuring books, I can just write here books. Inside this, I'm just going to assign it to cartoon data. Save this. Let me just log this one. Books. Save this. Now I got English, Hindi and French. So whatever data I am having inside books, that will be displayed. But inside this books, I am having another properties, English, Hindi and French. So to get that one, let me copy, comment, paste it here. What we have to do for nested objects, colon, and again curly braces. Inside this, we have to pass the properties which is present inside this book. We have English, then we have Hindi, then we have French, CH French. Save this. Now here I am getting books is not defined. Why? Because from books I have already destructured this properties. So I have to write now English, Hindi, separate variables, and finally French. Save this. Now I will be getting the result. Inside English, I am having book 1 and book 2. Then inside Hindi, I am having this string available in Hindi. And inside French, I am having nothing. So empty string will be displayed. Okay, what I have done, again we will repeat this one. Const. I have to destructure books. So easily we can just destructure and we can display the data of books. Save this. Now whatever data I am having inside books, that will be displayed. But inside books also, we are having another object. So here, I am just destructuring that one. We have to write colon, curly braces, English, Hindi. Let me just extract these two values. Now while displaying, we will be writing English, Hindi. Save this. Now English and Hindi data will be displayed. Now if you see here, English is also an object. Now to destructure this English, again we have to do colon. Let me just write here colon, curly braces. Inside this I have book 1, book 2. Okay, inside this books I am having English object. So inside this English I am having another object. So this is how we are going to write the properties. Now instead of displaying this English, I have to write here book 1, book 2. Save this. Now you can see there is a mouse hiding in this book. Okay, this is book 1, book 2 and book 3. Let me just display separately. Book 1, book 2 and Hindi. Save this. Now this is my book 1, this is my book 2 and this is my Hindi data which is present inside my object. Okay, here we have already pasted. You can see book 1, this is book 2 and finally this is Hindi. Now if I just want to extract French as well, here after this Hindi, we just have to write French and I'm just going to display French. Save this. Now here nothing is there because I am having empty data inside French. Now if I just write here available, copy, paste, save this. Now I will get the result as available. I will remove this. Okay, I hope you are clear with nested objects. How do we handle that one? Okay, this is how, this is the syntax. Syntax is weird, but if you understand this one, it is very easy and also it is very simple. Now, another important concept, that is adding methods inside the object. Previously, if you already learned about objects or if you learned about JavaScript, then you would have seen in object, we will be having properties and methods. Till now, we have seen about properties. Now let's talk about methods. Now here I will write adding methods in object. Inside my object, below this ratings, I will be creating one method. I will just write here series data colon function. We will be writing this. And inside this, I'm just going to give the parameter as data. I will show you why we are using this. And I just want to display the data. So many times when we are working in JavaScript, in functions you would have seen we will be having lots and lots of parameters. First name, last name, middle name. For everything, we will be giving parameters and using arguments, we will be displaying that data. Before going into this, let me show you an example. I will just write here function sum. No, I will write here function my name Inside this, we will be passing first name, middle name, then we will be passing last name. We will be passing multiple parameters. And here what we will do, we will just display this one, first name, middle name, and finally last name. So like this, we are just passing all the parameters. And here I'm just going to call this function. I will just write here k, and here I will write k, and finally here also I will write k. Save this. Now you can see k, k, k. While passing this, we are passing separate arguments, and here also we are passing multiple parameters. So whenever we are dealing with JavaScript, almost entire time we will be doing like that. We will be passing multiple parameters, multiple arguments, and we will get the result. Now here what I have done, I have just created this series data method. Inside this, I have passed only one parameter and I am just displaying that data. Now, while calling this method, what we can do, we can just pass one single object into the function as an argument, and in that object, we will be having multiple options. Okay, I will show you how we can do. Cartoon data dot. Okay, this is how we will be calling series data. Now I am calling this. Now inside this curly braces, I am passing multiple options. So basically, I am just passing one argument inside this object. So it will not be treated as individual data, how we have passed here. It will be treated as one single object. Inside this, I will just pass here director. Director is William Hannah. Then here I can just write here producer. Producer, I can just write here Hannah. Hannah and Barbara. And here we can write another argument. I will write here music by, and inside this I'm just going to write here Scott Bradley. Okay, now what I have done, while calling this series data, inside this object I have passed multiple options. Similar fashion I have passed, okay, properties and value, properties and value, and properties and value. Save this. Now you can see I got this result. How we got this result? I am calling this function. This entire thing will be passed inside this data. Okay, will be passed as an argument. An entire object, whatever I have passed, that is displayed. You can see director, producer, and music by. I do not have to pass separate variable. But now this is an object. Okay, now this data is an object. You can see what it displayed. This is displayed as object. So object, we can do object destructuring. So now you got to know what is present inside this data. Now immediately you can destructure this. How we can destructure? Curly braces. Inside data you can see we have director. We'll write director, comma. Then we have producer. I will write producer. Okay, whatever you can see here, exact same thing you have to write. Then you have to write music by. So once we destructure, we cannot use this one. Directly I can write here director, music by, and finally producer. Now save this. Now individual data we can get and we can display this one. For director also we got the value, for music also, and for producer also. I hope you understood. While calling this one, we are just passing one object. Inside that object, we are giving multiple options. And here we just displayed the data. And when we displayed the parameter, we just got entire object. Now to get values from those properties, we are doing object destructuring and we are displaying our data. In whatever order we are passing, that doesn't matter, that we have already seen in object. We can pass in any order. Now producer, I can just write it first. I will remove this. Producer, comma, save this. Then also for director, first I displayed director, I will be getting this one. Then music by, and finally producer Hannah and Barbara. Order doesn't matter here. In whatever order you want to restructure, you can easily do that. You can also pass a string log, template literal. We will be seeing later on. Tom and Jerry was directed by dollar, and inside this curly braces you just have to pass this. Save this. Now you got Tom and Jerry was directed by William Hanna. Whatever value we gave here, that will be displayed. Now suppose you are not having this producer name. I will copy this one, cut it from here. I do not have this producer. I have just passed only director and music by. As soon as I remove producer, I got the result as undefined. So now again what we can do in object, if any property is not there, we can easily set the default value. Here I can give the default value, same thing, save this. Now I will be getting the result. So if that value I have not passed while calling the function, and if that is not present inside the object, we can easily give this one. We can easily give the property name and we can set the default value, and that value will be displayed. Okay, this is how we will be setting the default value inside the methods. I hope you understood object destructuring, why we use object destructuring, and different topics inside object destructuring. If you are having any doubts, you can comment down your doubts. Practice this one. If you are having any ideas or any thoughts, comment down so that it will be helpful to others as well as it will be helpful to me, so that I can practice your results, whatever you got, and I can master this concept even more. Just practice this one. This entire object I will be pasting. Create your own objects, implement your own objects, work with data and get the result. Next session, we are going to see how to do array destructuring. We will be working in same object, and inside this we are having this array. We will see how to handle with arrays, how to destructure arrays, and how to display the data. Thank you so much for watching this. We'll meet in next video.